Today's episode's brought to you by Taco and Mash in the Morning.
Drop the beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, the Blevins, and with me, as always, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much. I'm waving like I always do every episode to the camera, even though I'm not on YouTube this time. I just felt like
You're not. You're just a Winston eating a banana. But also joined with us today is the guys from OverwatchScore.com, Taco and Mash. Hello, and welcome to the show.
What's up, Blevins? Thanks so much for having us.
Hey, what's going on? Excited to be here.
Anytime. Really glad you guys can make it on. So today's show is going to be mostly like a regular episode, but we're going to start off a little bit and get to know Taco and Mash here, as well as have them talk a little bit about OverwatchScore.com. So why don't we just jump right into it? So we always like to start it off with just a little bit of your guys' actual background, and we'll start with you, Taco. What's your like gaming origin story?
Yeah, I think I started with a lot of different stuff. I'd say like my kind of big influences were StarCraft and EverQuest, and then eventually World of Warcraft when that got released. So I a lot of late nights try to like quietly play EQ1 in my bedroom and hope I didn't wake my parents up. I think I didn't really get to my first maybe like esport or like really getting competitive came in StarCraft 2, and that's when I really started getting into the more competitive side of things.
Gotcha. And Mash, what's your origin story?
I'm gonna horribly date myself and say I started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid in the '80s, which led to in the '90s getting back into computer games and getting into MMOs with Ultima. Ultima went to Diablo 2, went to Dark Age Camelot, went to StarCraft 1. And then in 2004, I started working for MMORPG.com. And since then, I've played basically every single MMO created, almost every single game created at this point that I keep going back to and being forced to play. Not forced, but you know what I mean. And I've been involved in esports since StarCraft 1. I've been, when StarCraft 2 got launched, I was at BlizzCon. I got to see it. It was really exciting, and saw some of the first tournaments, and I've been hooked ever since. And then I was there when they announced Overwatch, the first time, and it was pretty shocking that Blizzard turned on a dime to make the type of game that they did, and it was awesome. I loved it, and I've been playing it and following the esports scene for the past 2 years. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I can say personally that BlizzCon can definitely change and affect you in a lot of ways. High Noon Podcast probably would not exist if I didn't go to BlizzCon in 2015, because we talked about it before. Death and I, and actually our original host Phelan, had talked about it a little bit, and we're like, yeah, we should do a show about Overwatch, because it was like this thing that we'd heard of. Neither of us, neither Death or I, had really played FPSs, but then I went to BlizzCon. I'm like, okay, we need to go. Oh, this is going to happen. Like, if you want to be a part of it, great. If not, I'm doing this. It's just too awesome. So what kind of got you guys into Overwatch specifically? I know, Mash, you just said it was kind of the going to BlizzCon, but Taco, anything specifically for you that got you into Overwatch?
Yeah, so I got a little I'll say too into StarCraft 2 to the point where I had to take some steps back. And I am garbage at MOBAs, and so I was just kind of on the lookout for something else. And I play Hearthstone, I play some of those other things, but I really wanted something on the PC. And Overwatch came along. I've played virtually every Blizzard title that's come along, and as soon as I tried it out in the beta, it hooked me, and been playing ever since.
Nice. Now,
did they actually let your account into the beta, or did you have to steal a buddy's account like I had to get to play
it? Let's go with steal a buddy's account.
Something probably much more nefarious than that. Awesome. So obviously, you guys have started OverwatchScore.com, which we personally have talked about on the show. You guys have had a couple of really good interviews. I know Huck and Alicus come to mind off the top of my head. Talk to us a little bit about the story behind OverwatchScore.com and like what your goals and aspirations for it are.
Sure. So I guess Mash and I talk about it all the time. Talked about Overwatch all the time. And when the league came out, we just started texting about it every day. We were both super interested in just the idea of taking esports to the next level. Like, what are these people doing? Is it going to crash and burn? Is it going to be really excited? And then I remember one morning, Mash just called me up. He's like, I bought this domain. Like, we're going to make a website. I was like, all right, I guess we're going to make a website. And then we started, we sat down and started piecing together, like, what should it be? Like, what does this website need to have? Like, what can we actually provide people? Like, what would be fun for us? Mm-hmm. And it's been a learning experience for sure. I'll let Mash fill in some of the blanks.
Mash, you gotta use your push to talk.
We forgot we did not fix all the push to talk issues from the pre-show.
Yeah, so he's got. I'll just keep going for a hot sec. So he's got this whole industry side of it. I've been an avid gamer, and I work in in technology and software. Mm-hmm. So we put it together. We started trying to figure stuff out. We just started quite literally just like messaging people on Twitter and emailing them and being like, "Hey, we made this website. Like, we'd really love to talk to you." And every once in a while, someone would get back to us, and then eventually, we had a week like we talked to Alicus, we talked to Huck, and we've talked to almost every team at this point. A couple stragglers still out there, and started getting some insiders who. I don't know why I said it like that. They are insiders. They're just like there's just some like cool folks who are in and around the industry who have strong opinions that they think people are interested in, and they'll tip us off to stuff sometimes as well.
Cool. Can I talk now?
Sure.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, that's better. Yeah, no, I mean, Taco did a good job kind of telling the backstory. It just came out of like a summer, like, hey, I'm going on summer vacation, but man, this league sounds really cool. I love that the cities that got involved right away. To see Boston and New York on the list was a big deal for me as a sports fan in the New York area. Until the Mets bought the spot. And, yeah. My brother's a crazy Mets fan, and I called him and I said, "Hey, what do you know about these guys?" And he just like started screaming, and I just put the phone down. I was like, okay, that'll be fun. But yeah, I mean, like I said, through my roots with MMOs, I known a lot of the Blizzard people and the people involved, and heard them announce the league to utter shock. And you kind of see the trends, right? Like, I remember when Turner Esports actually had an Overwatch show at one point, and then that quickly got shut off, right? Like, out of nowhere, you're like, oh my God, they're playing Overwatch on a Friday night on TBS, and then boom, gone. Never happened again.
Yeah, one season of E-League.
Yeah, that was it. And I think when that started to happen, I was like, dude, they got to be up to something. And then sure enough, last year when they made the big league announcement, a lot of analyst friends and I were talking, and we're like, did you just hear that everybody has to bid on a franchise? Like, does anyone else know what that could mean? And that's when I said, holy cow, this domain is open, and it would be really fun to try to cover this thing, in all of its entirety, and the ups and downs and the crazy stories that are going to go with it. So it's been a lot of fun, and hats off to you guys. I mean, High Noon we're huge fans, and we follow everything you guys say, and you do a fantastic job covering all the action around tier 1 and tier 2, and so it's great to just be talking with you guys on the show.
Yeah, really appreciate that. It's always, and I know I speak for Death as well, it's always super humbling to hear that people actually listen to the show. And B, that you guys enjoy it. But no, super happy to have you guys on. So let's move right along. I know we don't have a ton of tournaments to talk about, but we do have we've got some good stuff, and I'm sure we'll go on plenty of tangents with the 4-host lineup. So let's roll right into our normal schedule. And Death, did you do anything fun last week? I know you were kind of AWOL for a little bit.
I was, yeah. I went camping. Every year I meet up with some college buddies and we rent a cabin at a state park and we basically lock ourselves inside of it and play board games the entire time. So I did that this weekend. It was a whole lot of fun. We went with like the super deluxe cabin, like 3 bedrooms and an indoor fireplace this time so that we weren't like literally crammed like sardines in a can into the cabin. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun and really messed me up because my whole schedule's off. Like I can't remember to do anything that I'm supposed to be doing. It's a miracle I showed up today. But yeah, other than that, not too much.
Nice. I did the standard basic couples in fall stuff. I went apple picking, did pumpkin stuff. I posted a picture on Twitter of me carrying this gigantic pumpkin. So just standard couple stuff. That was fun. Taco Mesh, you guys do anything fun last week or weekend? Anything exciting for you?
Skipping over how weird it is, you did all that and like left your girlfriend at home. You just went on your own to like.
Oh yeah, I did the couple stuff by myself. Yeah, no.
Yeah, nothing creepier than a single dude apple picking.
Like taking selfies with his apple and like
True, and like
pumpkin picking and stuff. Like just the weirdest guy ever.
Okay, so I will say this. So we were at there's this place. It's basically like a mini carnival called the Great Pumpkin Farm in Buffalo, and we were there. And there was this guy, and I just hope that he's like the owner of the Great Pumpkin Farm because he was like the creepiest guy ever. Just like walking around, and he was like way too excited. Like he was going up and talking to people like, "Hey, I like your shirt," or like making comments about people's shirts. It's like, well. He was just walking around alone, and he was there for hours. So I'm assuming he worked there, but oh god,
it's gonna be you.
That's 100% gonna be me. Except I'm gonna be wearing a giant top hat and a monocle.
I was gonna walking around Overwatch League matches selling bootleg T-shirts and stuff since nobody hired you to do it.
But Taco Mash, you guys do anything fun over the weekend?
Sort of. I mean, last week I was in Las Vegas for my day job, and Bash and I are based in New York. So we're trying to do site stuff, and he's like, he's texting me at like 9 a.m. his time or earlier. It's just like I'm still very much asleep and waking up to just like walls of text because we had a lot of good stuff start coming through last week. Some of which we published, like getting the tips early on the Soul roster editions and. Some other stuff that's still percolating around, but it's just funny to like wake up and kind of see that when I'm used to being kind of up at the same time. We both are early birds typically, so we talk early about kind of the direction we're going to take things.
Yeah, I am. I feel bad for doing. I don't feel bad for doing that at all. To talk. No, when it's. I think it was like 7 a.m. East Coast, and I finally talked to some of the people at KSV, and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, we're adding some people to the roster this weekend." I'm like, "What?" You're right, and then I instantly am texting Taco, going, "Dude." And he's totally dead asleep. And my wife comes in and says, he's in Vegas, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's 4 a.m. Whoops. So it was fine. No, I didn't do anything interesting last week. I just, I'm a, boring dad who works and coaches a soccer team and plays Overwatch as much as I possibly can. That's my life. So that was my week.
Not a bad life.
I was gonna say you undersold it, but it doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah,
cool.
But yeah, no, it's that. So texting and talking early about stuff is definitely a good strategy. And if it weren't for the very active Discord channel that we have, D3ath and I basically we've kind of perfected the art of cramming everything we need to know about the episode about 15 minutes before we record. We've gotten very good at that, but now we've got the Discord where A Smith and Thornrain and everyone are posting stuff in there constantly. So we get to digest it throughout the week instead of just the cram like we usually do. But it has taught us some good stuff. But let's move right along to my favorite segment of the show.
Overwatch Today Meme of the Week.
That, of course, is the Overwatch Today Meme of the Week. And I don't know, D3ath, I'm interested to know what you think about this one. Because I'm going
to fight you for picking it.
I love this meme.
It's not accurate.
Okay, so this is basically this is the the new Halloween Hanzo skin that we all have wanted, and it is a picture of Hanzo inside of a trash can that just says "I heart trash" on it. I love this. This is almost as good as a Genji "I need healing" meme.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about all that. I mean, Hanzo's. I don't know, I'm not going to defend him too much because let's be real. But yeah, I mean, he's fun at least, right? Like, I don't know. So much hate on Hanzo, and it's like splashed over, and he's not even bad anymore.
No, he's not bad, but
He's not bad. He's still not like good, but he's not bad anymore.
okay,
I don't
so
know.
here's the thing. He may not be bad, but the people that play him at the ranks where the memes are appropriate are bad.
That's hard to deny, though. I don't think that is an isolate.
I mean, a Junkrat at my SR is always going to be good. A Hanzo at my SR is always going to be bad.
I think we define the words good and bad differently. Although I don't disagree at all with your second statement.
Yeah, I mean, they're always going to be good for whatever. It doesn't matter. All I know, Hanzo trash, and
he's cosplaying Oscar the Grouch.
Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely dig it.
I mean, I really want to see more. Like, and we'll talk about this like on a somewhat. Okay, it's not serious at all, but on a somewhat serious note, I want to see more like really goofy skins. Like, I don't know. I want to see something like way out of the norm. Like, I want to see Hanzo wearing a trash can. Like, come on.
Like Nutcracker Zen.
Nutcracker Zen was a good one, and actually, there's one from this wave that I really like that I actually bought with the 3,000 coins.
Yeah, there's so many good skins.
Yeah, I actually have to play now.
Yeah, I'm really mad at them for making me need to solo queue comp on my main account. Like, it's upsetting. I've been spoiled by just skins I haven't liked for 3 events.
Mash and I were at his place this past weekend working on the site, and his son's playing Overwatch on the Xbox in the living room, and we just hear him leap up and start screaming and running circles around downstairs. We walk over, and he first loot box cracked open the new Reaper skin.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the only one I have so far. But I need the Symmetra and I need the Zen.
Yep.
And the first 2, so I bought $10 worth of loot boxes in the first day because I was hyped enough about them, and I knew I'd need to buy more later anyways. And I get 2 legendaries in the 10, and neither of them were event legendaries. So me and Blizzard are fighting right now. So that was particularly brutal. But I mean, I think the last time I needed skins, I'm literally the day before it closes, $100 deep into loot boxes, trying to analyze all my life choices from the past 20 years and figure out what I'm doing. So hopefully it's a little better.
Yeah, so my second loot box I opened, I got the Symmetra one, so we can bust out Attack Symmetra, activate. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't know exactly how much I'm going to be able to play, so I had 3,000 coins, so I just bought the Zarya one. It's I need a Zarya skin. I need a good one. I don't have one. I'm doing it. So, we'll talk a little bit more about the Halloween stuff in a second. Oh yeah, the Lost Viking Torbjorn I need too. But we'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's do a little bit. It's tournament talk. Of tournament talk. So I don't know if you guys feel the same void that I do, but I really miss contenders, man. I loved watching those tournaments and following that tournament for so long.
It was great on a Saturday afternoon when home and the kids are playing.
You're cutting out a little bit there, bud.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. Yeah, just kind of keep the volume up. I would guess should take care of you.
Is that better?
Yep.
There we go. No, I was just going to say, I love Saturday afternoons being home and just flipping on real quick, putting Twitch on the main TV in the house and being oh my God, Contenders is on. And then I'm sucked in for 3 or 4 matches, and then I'm running, chasing my daughter away. And then I'm going back in and you can watch. It was great to have on a Saturday and Sunday afternoons, really, really fun to keep up with. I got to really what is it? FE Energy, the Corn Dogs, and seeing cool map play and following the Misfits. We're big fans of the Misfits in Europe. And so it was awesome to watch. And the finals, I don't think they disappointed. I mean, obviously Envy did really well. And Giganti. I think that's how you say it, or Giganti.
Giganti.
You know, Giganti.
Yeah, we got schooled from Fraggy on how to actually say it.
But that was even a good match. I mean, I was pulling for the Misfits, but it was cool to see that one go head to head at the end of the European, and I miss it tremendously. That's the breakdown.
Yeah, especially this last one too. It had so many fun like storylines, like the teams that kind of came out of nowhere. Like it really, from like week one of the group stages, sucked me in and had me just completely paying attention to it, like me thinking about it on the weekdays. And it's something that had not the first time that's happened to me with Overwatch, where it's kind of really like taken over for my thoughts and stuff like that outside of playing and when I sit down to focus on it. But it was just great to have happened, but it's such like a short season. That's why the league's going to be so great, and that's why I'm so excited for it. Is just the extended time period of it, where it's not start and stop. I get to just focus in on it, and the timing of everything is going to be great too. Like Contenders was rough this time around for me once the football season started, and I'm stuck like trying to split my time and pay full attention to both of them, and as a result wasn't paying full attention to either of them. But yeah, so it's like bittersweet for me that it's not happening right now, but it's just because of how big of a football fanatic I am. And I do miss the matches, though. I just don't miss the being up at 2:30 in the morning trying to cram VODs at 1.5 times speed. Just to make sure I watch everything and take notes on all the matches. But other than that, even right to the end, it was so strong and so entertaining, like you said, especially over on the EU side. And there's a lot to watch when you're watching a team like Envious and are they beatable? Is it possible to take, is it possible to take maps off them? And once a team does, it makes you ask all these questions about, what does the other team have to do? Like, can they mirror that? Or, so it was a lot of fun to track that and definitely avoid that.
I really like the second half of the season, kind of into the playoffs, was really coinciding with like a really like fast and heavy like league news time coming through. So you're like watching the matches and trying to pick out players and look at different teams and see where people might go. And still some of that hasn't gotten revealed yet, but just while that's happening with the games going, just made it super exciting and definitely got me really psyched for BlizzCon and the preseason coming up. Really wish we'd gotten to see a little more Seagull, but it was cool to see him swoop in, no pun intended, right at the end and help close things out. So
yeah, I mean, we could talk a whole episode about like the wrap up of Contenders, but I mean, it started out as like, okay, so the first question I remember is like, is Immortals going to be able to repeat their win with Envious in? That got flipped on its head almost immediately. Like Immortals flopped as well as Renegades. And then it was, I don't know. I mean, like I said, we could talk for hours and hours about Contenders. Overall, just a really great, it was a really great tournament series because it built out the stories. There are so many different stories to be had within just the tournament, not even just the matches themselves, which were generally pretty good. And then you had the NA and EU side. And the best part for us, I think, is like I didn't have to like go and check and make sure that like, okay, well, we watch the Ghost Suit Gamers Weekly, and then there's also some other tournament, and then there's another tournament that has like one or two good. There's like an EU tournament that has like good EU teams, but there's only two good EU teams, and there's a bunch of trash. It's like, okay, all good teams, all one tournament, all in one weekend. It's not like spread out over. It was just perfect for us, but. Can't wait for Contenders Season 2, as well as Overwatch League. But, okay, let's actually talk about the stuff that did happen this weekend. Huge, already going off on tangents. Although that was like a tournament tangent, so that kind of doesn't count. But, okay, we had the Apex semis play out. We had GC Busan versus C9 Kongdu. GC Busan defeated them 4-0. And then Runaway beat NC Foxes 4-0. So we've got the Apex Finals set. And that's going to be GC Busan versus Runaway. And I've got the link in the show notes, so if you want to see, but we've got a hype video that was made. And I know Deathblow, you probably hate it if you even watched it, because it's like super wub dubstep music, but it's... if that's your jam, it's a pretty hype video.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen it yet personally, but I don't think you need to do too much to like hype these up, right? Like Runaway is a team that has been, and I'm not the oldest person on the podcast, so I'll leave the dad pun for for the other day.
No, why don't?
But
Death, why don't you run away with it?
Oh, see, now you ruined it. You stole it. You're not even close to the oldest guy here. This is a travesty. But yeah, so I mean, they're a team that's been kind of off and on a little bit, so it's great to get to see them, move into these finals. They've clearly been on a hot streak lately. And then GC Busan, I mean, they've taken down the number 1 and the number 2 teams in this region according to just about everybody, and they did it with
2 Overwatch League rosters. Well,
yeah,
alleged Overwatch League rosters.
Right. One of them confirmed, and they've done it in basically spectacular fashion. And the Lunatic High, they did it to twice. So really, really impressive turnout from them. And you have to wonder the same questions here. Like, is C9 Kongdu a little bit too focused on other things to give this their all? But I've got to say that kind of goes out the window when you 4-0 both of them, right? Like when you just crush both of them, I don't care anymore. Like you should, if you're the best in your region, you should be able to be a little distracted and at least win maps. And they're not doing that. So, and the fact that they both 4-0'd too, right? Like if Runaway had come out 3-2 against NC Foxes, like you'd have like a clear favorite here, but I don't see that looking at this. And I don't watch these as closely as I do contenders and stuff, but I don't know enough about GCU Busan to really, stake a claim here that I think they're likely to win, but they have to be the favorites given who they've beaten. But,
so according to the Strafe polls, which again we've talked on before, is kind of wishy-washy, but there are 377 votes in here. GC Busan is a 46-54 underdog right now, just based on votes. So people think that Runaway is a slight favorite here. So,
I don't know. People are crazy. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with Busan after those results for sure. Would really love to see a rematch with the reloaded Lunatic High.
Yeah, I mean, we talked with Flame a few weeks ago about like Lunatic High when they first got beat by GC Busan. I was like, yeah, Lunatic High is doing other things. Like they are prepping for Overwatch League, but then they faced off again and got beat again. And then GC Busan goes and beats C9 Kongdu, which, okay, maybe you're distracted by Overwatch League, but how distracted are you if you're already signed and like have your spot? Like that just, I feel like you should, if you already have the spot and you're already on the team, like you should want to defend that, right? Because it just makes you look bad going into the league. Am I missing something here? Like how do you, I feel like, how do you walk away feeling good about that in any way? Like losing 4-0 to that team as an Overwatch League team.
I have to agree with you, Blev. I think it takes a lot away from those teams at this point. Going down like a 4-0 is nasty, right? And I don't believe in the excuse that you're distracted by other things. You still have a tournament to play. If you take any professional sports, it's like, a Premier League team in soccer, soccer to us, right? Football to the world. If a Premier League team has like an international match against a team in Italy or a championship match, they're still expected to win their game that Saturday in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're up against like Tottenham that weekend and you're Arsenal, English fans do not want to see you lose that game. Right. And so you can make the same, the same thing applies here where, these teams are expected to perform in the tournament that they're playing in the moment, and to watch both of them fall as hard as they did, you immediately question the validity of the Overwatch League, right? And what type of teams are getting in there? Are the best players going to be added? And I think totally agree with you. That's, you can hear my frustration, right?
I mean, I think so. What we know is that Cloud9 is the owner of the spot, and they bought the GC Busan roster, right? But it's not necessarily been announced that those 6 players,
the Kongdu roster, you mean?
Right? Yeah.
I think it has actually been officially announced. Like that is their roster going into it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think that happened at the same time as the name changed. Like that's why they're going by C9 Kongdu and Apex and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Okay, so maybe it's been confirmed, or maybe it's just been implied. But like, if I'm Cloud9, like the org, it's like, be like, what's GC Busan? What's your guys' deal? Like, what you guys want to play an Overwatch League? Like, I mean, if it's not like set in stone, like, I mean, if your team gets crushed, right, and you've still, like, as the owner, it's like you can still jump ship, right? You've, like, Cloud9 has already demonstrated that they're willing to jump ship in many different ways. Like, why not just do it one more time and pick up GC Busan, right? Like, I don't know.
As long as the players aren't signed to Overwatch League contracts, because those are a little less, a little tougher to get out of than the traditional esports contract. But I think the main takeaway for me from all this is just how many top tier players are still just hanging out in Korea, like not locked in for Overwatch League yet.
Right. I mean, if I'm a top tier Korean player, like, if you really sit down and think about it, how important is it going to be to be in Overwatch League Season 1? I don't know.
I think it will. I think based on the fan base in Korea, and I think you've got, that's the birthplace, right, of esports. So I think those fans want to see their players compete on an international stage, and for them, I mean, the Overwatch League is almost like a World Cup situation, right, where you've got your own local Seoul team, but at the same time, like, fans are going to follow the players. If I was a club that was recently announced, like Philadelphia, for example, I'd be looking at Busan right away. I mean, I don't know that they've signed a full roster yet. They were one of the last franchises to be announced. They might have guys going, dude, let's pick up 3 of them right away. We'll bring them out to Philly, mix them with local talent from North America, and boom, you got a killer team like in a second.
Right.
And so I mean, yeah, I think the frustration comes in that there are top tier players that are not going to be part of the league, and I think that you can't flood the league with one group of players, right? You have to kind of go international, but at the same time, to see this team come in and just crush people at the last second. If I was a scout and I didn't have my full roster signed, I'd be going bananas right now trying to get them on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, like, from the Korean players' perspective, it's like, okay, well, maybe there will, we're not on Seoul's team because we're not Lunatic High, obviously, but maybe, there's going to be another Korean team or another, APAC team that's coming up in Season 2 or Season 3. It's like, yeah, obviously you want to play, but, like, if you can play, like, if you had the choice and you don't necessarily want to live in America, I could see the argument of, like, okay, we'll wait for Season 2 or even Season 3 of Overwatch League, play in Apex, which is a high tier tournament, obviously maybe not the same level as Overwatch League, but play in that. If there's a contender, I don't remember, is there ever going to be like an Asia contenders? Have they said that there is or isn't going to be?
I think Apex is Asia contenders.
It's basically what they're going to do for Asian contenders. Okay, so yeah. I mean, you have a premier level tournament, obviously not the league, but you can play in the lower level tournament the first year or two, like, let things develop, and then play on in Season 3. I could see that if you didn't want to leave Asia, I could see that being as an option, even if you got approached by the Philadelphia team. I don't know.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. I feel like it's a little bit scary because things change so fast. Like, who would have thought Busan would be such a hot commodity, like,
right.
Just a little while ago. So how quickly things can change can make that a little risky. But, we all know that they're going to add a lot of teams for Season 2. So there's certainly, like, a not too long of a turnaround time before they could potentially hop on.
Yeah, and kind of just 2 things to add into the conversation. I love the differences of opinions here, because to me, like, so you guys see the results and you're like, oh man, that would make me want to go sign GC Busan, and that to me would just make me, like, terrified to sign a full roster that pre-existed from somewhere, because, like, I still think it's almost, like, lazy to do it, and I get why Seoul did it. No idea why New York did it. But, like, I get why Dallas did it, right? Those are, like, the 2 teams that I thought it made sense to keep them together, because I still see them improving, and I don't know. And I probably would have kept C9 Kongdu together, so I understand London doing it. Also, like, it would have been basically impossible to field a competitive Overwatch League team and limit themselves to, like, not Europe, but England and surrounding countries, like very, very nearby countries. Like, it would have been hard to kind of region lock themselves a little bit and remain competitive. So I get those teams doing it, but other than that, I don't know. I would be just afraid to do it. I think it's almost almost lazy. I don't want to call it lazy because they're still doing their due diligence, I'm sure, and checking out the other teams, but it just feels overly safe. And I would rather try to create something now, right? Like, you have more resources, you have more interest now. Like, you're one of 12 teams. There's only 12 teams in this league that the entire Overwatch world wants to be a part of. And you don't have to recruit near as hard, I wouldn't think, right? Like, you just kind of have to make sure it's a good fit, and you might have to compete with other teams, but everybody wants into the league, and everybody would just about take any position you offered. So I think it would almost be better to create something new, especially after conversations with, some of the interviews we've had lately. It just feels like I would get a coach that had an idea and had a plan and had a vision for how he wanted the team to run, and I would just let him go, and I would just spend all the money I could to support him and just, kind of build it from scratch. And even if it's not an immediate success season one, when I think of the teams that are successful in regular sports, it's, I'll even make a basketball analogy here for you, Blevins. The Golden State Warriors didn't trade for that team. They built that team out of the draft. They created that. They're a super team now, but they built it. And because they evaluated talent better than everybody else, and because they were smarter than everybody else during the draft, and that's how they built that team. And as much as I hate super teams, and as much as their presence makes me not want to like baseball or basketball, I respect how they did it.
Right.
And if I had to pick them or Cleveland, I would pick them to root for, just because, I don't care about LeBron, but if I did, that would swing it. But, it just, the process there matters a lot. And even in football, you look at when have the Pittsburgh Steelers ever been a bad team? Like, it's never for long, and they're known for drafting and building that way. The Patriots do the draft differently than everybody else. The jerks, I hate them, but they do it, and they do it well. They trade picks away all the time to acquire more. They bring in a quantity of players rather than like a quality of players.
Yeah.
And they have their own method of doing things, and it's working for them, and that's why they're successful. It's not because they went out and basically just like bought a roster off of a different team and went in and brought them in, or elevated somebody from college and just grabbed like all guys from one team or anything like that. Like, that seems lazy to me, and it's a different conversation to do that. Bringing up from college, like, this is kind of the same level. It's a sideways movement. That's why it's okay for like the top 3 or 4 teams to do it, but after that, it just seems a little lazy to me.
Yeah, if not lazy, short-sighted. I feel like if you look at the strategy that Boston, not that they've released their roster yet, but from just talking to Huck and some of the things he said publicly, and a few of the other teams have been taking with their team building, where they're really looking for coachable players that are hungry, that want to work, that they're really looking long term. It makes me wonder if some of the, with the exception of like Seoul, it makes me wonder if some of these situations, like New York supposedly signing LW Blue, like, are they buying the roster before the coaches? Like, is that why they're doing this? They're going out and just snapping up players and then like crossing their fingers and hoping they can take it to victory. I'm trying to like apply some kind of logic to why they wouldn't want to do their due diligence with regard to roster building.
And you can't even like, sometimes they hired the coach first. You look at London, Alakis quit because he said out publicly, like, it's a huge mistake to import Korean rosters into Overwatch League. That's not going to be the way to be successful. The coach that they'd signed and hired, and they're basically their general manager or coach, I'm not sure which position he was going to hold or what would be the closest analog to it. But and he leaves because he just disagrees. Like, your left hand doesn't know what your right hand's doing. Just put somebody, like, you just need somebody in charge of it to run it for better or worse. And if it's for worse, you fire him and you start over again. Like, that's how it works everywhere else. I don't know why anybody would take any different approach. And I'm really hoping that the season 1 champion is a team that did something different. Like, I will, at the end of the day, I think in the Super Bowl, unless it's pre-made team before the league, unless it's like Dallas versus Seoul, which is probably the preseason favorite.
The picks, at least, that's what people are going to pick.
Right. And if it's that, I'll pick a team and root for them. But otherwise, if it's like a new team, an upstart that built the roster, like if it's San Francisco, if they weather the storm early and then make a huge push late and make it into the, I will wave that flag 100% because it will just validate my line of thinking on this. And I don't know, as somebody that would like to work in the league someday, I want to be right about it. So,
well, I think, and Alakis kind of alluded to this a little bit when we talked to him, was season one is probably not where you're going to see those teams
No.
knock off the Giants. It's season two,
Right.
season three, when they're really going to start to be able to gel, have worked together, be in the coaching system. And when, you'll probably start to see some of these players who are being shipped across the world start to struggle, get homesick, or whatever else is going to potentially, bring them down a notch.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Envy, which I don't think anybody can accurately or with any confidence claim that Envy is worse than Lunatic High or C9 Kongdu. Like, I don't think anybody can make that statement with at least accurate confidence. And I don't know, I kind of lost myself and lost my own train of thought here, but you can't see them like improve and get better as much as you can see a new team come in and start from scratch and learn everything over. And, that's going to be slower, but it's going to be better in the long run. And I think what you need to look out for in the first season is that team that, because we're all going to do it, myself included, right? Like, I'm going to make a power rankings as soon as all the rosters are out and try to rank these teams and figure out where everybody's going to fit. So it's not necessarily the team that wins, but it's the team that defies expectations, right? Like, we've already had one person who claims to have seen all the rosters rank Boston at the bottom. And as much as I will weep inside, if he's right, the roster looks bad and they're successful anyways. Like, that's a sign of an organization that has it right and it knows what they're doing and gets the most out of their players. And that matters to me more than the talent on the team. Getting the organizational structure correct now, I think, is the most important thing any of these teams could be doing. And it's the biggest mistake I see most of.
I think just to chime in for a quick second,
Mhm.
I totally agree with everybody's philosophy, right? And one of the big things that, we talked to Noah Winston a little while ago, and he's, they're making their announcements next week, right? We all know it's coming for the Immortals and stuff, but he said something that was really true, which is, and Huck said the same thing. You got to market your team to the city that you're representing, right? And you mentioned like the New York thing that spins my head around in 6 different ways. Being a New York sports fan my whole life, I grew up 20 minutes outside the city. I went to Giants games. I've gone to Yankee games, Mets games, Devils games, Rangers games, right? How do you sell a team that's bought over from across the world and say, this is your New York Excelsior, right? And they can't, the players can't relate to the fans at all. The fans are going to have a hard time relating to the players. And it's going to be hard. And the other thing to take into account, and this is something we kind of learned in talking to some of the Korean organizations, is that these kids are coming over here, they're 17, 18 years old, right? They've never been to the US. They're coming from a completely different culture, and that's a clash in itself. I mean, I'd be terrified to go play rugby in like South Africa or Australia. Like
Right.
everybody's going to hate you just because you're from the US. And look at the strides that like guys in baseball have made coming from different countries. So to see, I agree. I think the teams that are going to win, and I'm with you, Death, I want to see a team that builds a solid roster, a mixed roster that's coachable, that has a direction and pulls it out. And that's what Huck said to us most of all when we talked to him. He was dead set on having a coachable team that he could drive and push and build, that's eventually going to win this thing and prove your way of thinking right. Where I think you got to look at the ownership, you got to look at the structure, right? You get somebody to buy into a business like the Overwatch League, but if I'm, sitting on top of $20 million or, some of these guys, billions of dollars, right? I want to know that 20 million of my investment is being taken care of correctly. Not that I'm just going to say, well, let's buy the best team out there and that's it. I don't care where they're from. We're going to put them in. We're going to sell tickets. You're actually not going to sell tickets. And that's the hard part. So I have hopes for every team, but I think every team has to follow that philosophy that you just described.
Yeah.
Right.
And the ones who don't do it out of the gate are really going to struggle. And I think you're not going to win over your fan base. And that's something that Noah Winston talks about all the time. He's like, we want to represent LA. We want fans who care, because that's where your team's really going to grow. Right.
Yeah. And you asked the question, how do they sell these foreign teams to their cities? And there's only one way to do that. And that is with a championship. If I know sports fans, the only way to sell them on a team of outsiders that they don't like is to have them win and put their name on the trophy. And that means that there's 2 teams that have already imported full Korean rosters, and one of them is guaranteed to fail. So do you really want to be like, do you want to go sign that third one right now? Because I don't, you can't market the team. You're just going to be resetting unless you win. So it's like all in, all your chips are down on season 1.
Right.
And if you don't have C9 Kongdu and you don't have Soul and you don't have Envy, and Envy's immune from that problem because I don't think they have unmarketable players, or I don't think they'll have an issue with that. But
the most marketable players,
right, yeah. I mean, 100%. Like they're going to have very little problems selling their roster.
Envy just has it all, right? Like,
right.
They have the best. They have the best team. They have the most likable and knowable team in the U.S. Like,
I mean, at least looking at it on the surface, they sure seem to have a very solid recipe there, and I would honestly put them, I think, for all the reasons that you just talked about, for the change in culture, the moving, all the reasons that kept Envy from winning the second and third trips to Apex are the same things that I think are going to keep Seoul and London from reaching, the ultimate goal of winning the championship. And I right now, I mean, it's easy to say when there's 4 rosters, but I would pick, I would be picking Dallas to win it, I think.
Yeah. And just to kind of wrap this up, because we do have some more stuff to talk about, even if you can, so like, even if you buy C9 Kongdu or you buy, Luxury Watch Blue, and like, even if it says, okay, guaranteed to win season 1, even if New York is guaranteed to win season 1 with Luxury Watch Blue, like, so year 1, they're better off than everyone else just because they're magically guaranteed to win. But like, where are they at year 5? Like, is Luxury Watch Blue, that roster, still good in 2 years even? Like, are you gonna, like, you still have to do the building. Like, the winning season 1 is just one probably pretty, maybe not super small, but one like relatively small piece to the like greater Overwatch League puzzle. I mean, that's like the whole MO of Overwatch League, is that it's not like the whole thing is set up to not matter about year 1 necessarily. It's much more about year 5, year 10, year 15. Like that's what they're building it out as, at least. So
yeah, your plan should be to win 3 of the first 5 titles, right, not the first one.
And to set up your plan should be to do well in the first 5 seasons and to have your infrastructure set up to be sustainable for the next 20 or something like that. Like, you can't just like, we're not going to see the Dallas Fuel have like a 40-year-old Taimu like playing and just still dominating. Like, that's just not going to happen like that. Like, I mean, as sad as it is to say, like the life cycle of an esports player in an esport like Overwatch is probably not super, super long. So, but let's move on. That whole discussion was great. It could have even gone into the break it down, but we do have another tournament that happened. This is the OGN Seoul Cup. We'll go over this real quick. We had Lunatic High versus Miraculous Youngsters. Miraculous Youngsters is notably the #1 team in China. Lunatic High took them out 3-2. Put a note on this one. This was one of the better matches that was played. I got to watch the first couple of maps. Was a really good few maps, and everyone was talking about this. There is a video that I will link in the show notes of the head coach of Corndog actually doing like a full breakdown of that whole set. So definitely watch that one. It was a good one. And then we had Cloud9 Kongdu versus Lucky Future, who is another Chinese team. C9 Kongdu wins that one 3-0, and then Lunatic High beats C9 Kongdu 3-1, which actually that could be our first a preview of an actual Overwatch League match. Like, that could be.
It basically is, yeah.
The first time we've seen 2 confirmed Overwatch League rosters play against each other.
Yeah, it's Seoul versus London for all accounts. And I didn't get to see the finals yet. I was much more focused on the Lunatic High versus Miraculous Youngsters. Hex got me all hyped up to peek in on the Chinese talent and see how those guys were doing. And I got to say they were pretty impressive. And the video, I'm blanking on the name of the coach from Corn Dogs, but really, really valuable video. Make sure you guys check it out. If you have any trouble finding it, ask us in Discord or shoot us a tweet. We'll be more than happy to provide that link for you. But yeah, just a really great match here. And, one thing that was notable, if you do go back and watch it, Lunatic High did substitute. They had we'll talk more about the players that they're adding to their roster in a little bit, but they actually brought in Fleta and Zephyr to replace 2 of their mainstays on the roster. So there was a little bit of a learning curve there, and we got to see it in that Miraculous Youngsters match. But yeah, I just thought it was a really well played match, and interesting to see two different metas, right? Because there's definitely two different styles between Korean and Chinese Overwatch, and it was really nice to see them mix. And all in all, even with that and the Lunatic High C9 matchup that is previewing two Overwatch League teams, I just thought it was great to see those two metas mix and clash, because that's something we're going to definitely see in Overwatch League. And we're going to see a blending of all the styles, right? Because you're going to have to be able to prepare for what Shanghai is doing, because you have to play them. You have to know that matchup and how to play against that. And in order to do that, you probably have to learn to play it a little bit. Like I firmly believe to learn to attack something, you need to learn to play it as well as your opponent does, and then you can really counter it. So I think we're going to see a really interesting blend of all the metas and all the different styles kind of come together, and that to me is what I'm most excited about, and that was the funnest part of watching this show match series to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to see China having that different meta and that different style of play too. And we talked about this. Jeez, it might have even been like over a year ago at this point. And especially when we were doing the Hearthstone podcast a million years ago, about how like different regions just have different styles of play. Like even if they're using the same heroes, they have just different styles of play. Like a locked region, or a region that only plays within itself, like they develop things differently. Like that, like some of the like higher level concepts might be the same, but like we saw, and actually Hex kind of alluded to this as well, we saw the McCree Doomfist get played by China, and that's just something we have not seen as much in the West, or really even in Korea as much. So definitely a good one to see, and definitely nice to see China kind of on the main stage for the West to see. I'd be interested to see what some of the like Australian teams are doing too, see if it's any different. But and then the last note on that is that APAC actually starts, if you're listening to this in podcast realm, it's already started. It starts on October 18th. So that will probably be a good chunk of what we talk about for at least in terms of the tournaments, until we start getting some Overwatch League stuff and other stuff. So yeah, so that'll be good. But let's move on. We're already at about an hour, and we still got some more stuff to talk about, so let's cruise right through this. And
let's break it down.
We'll break it down. Okay, first bit of news is we have another officially announced, not just a mind from the patent office, although we definitely got this one. San Francisco has revealed their team name and logo, and it is the San Francisco Shock.
Called it.
Yeah, we did call it. And so I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, but the first thing I will say is that we totally called BS on the fake soccer team that was the San Francisco Shock, bringing soccer to all of San Francisco.
The future of San Francisco soccer. Yeah. That's what the San Francisco Shock is.
We saw right through that BS. But I don't know. What did you guys think about this team name, the color scheme, and the logo?
I dig it. It was like, worst kept secret, as a lot of the team names are, but it's kind of great. At least the patent filings don't have their like logo and their colors and their like affiliated hero, So at least there was like still like, all right, finally, all right, show me who it is. Oh, Doomfist, sweet.
Yeah, I think the name is kind of funny. I mean, it's kind of ironic, right? I was one of the few people around for the 88, 89 earthquake. I forget what year it was in San Fran. It was brutal. And so I think it's cool they adopted their own natural disaster as their team name.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
but
it would
overall,
be a little off color to have like the Puerto Rico Hurricanes, right? Like that would just be weird, right? Like that, but that's basically what this is.
Exactly. But it's a smart move. I mean, listen, NRG, I think the more interesting story with NRG is the fact of how many different celebrities are now just investing millions of dollars in there, right? And it's cool. I mean, it's great to see, but the Shock is a good name. It's not Excelsior, right? We keep saying that. It's marketable, it's fun, people will get into it. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, definitely better than Excelsior. I actually like the name quite a bit, but I kind of hate the logo. Right,
It looks exactly like the SoundCloud logo, like same
Yeah,
color. We get
Yep.
if you're watching on YouTube, just look down in the bottom right hand corner. There's a SoundCloud logo. That's basically what the Shock logo looks like.
it's not too far off. I think it's going to be really awkward to like stretch onto a hat and and like try to sell the hat.
Right? They're going to be like, "Oh, you work for SoundCloud," and you'll be like, "No."
And like, I totally get, like, I like that they're, using it to tie into regionality. But when I hear Shock, I don't know about you
Lightning
guys.
bolt.
I don't think earthquake, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think I stuck a fork in an electrical socket, or I think something like
Took 2
electrical.
damage from an
So,
instant.
right, that's fair.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, just tapping mountains. I don't do that though. I'm morally opposed to
Playing
tapping
Sacred Foundries on tap. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, so there's a little bit of a disconnect there. I'm not a big fan of the logo, but overall, I like the name. I think there's a lot you can do with it from a marketing perspective.
Mhm.
Like, the one that keeps coming to mind is shock and awe. Just kind of those catchphrases. Those things, they're important to branding, and they're important to fans.
Boom
and give them
Shakalaka
that.
is the best one I've heard so far.
Oh, nice. I
There
haven't
you
heard
go.
that one yet.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
You talk about marketability too, and I think something that's gone a little bit overlooked is, we talk about Korean players versus, more localized players, or we talk about winning over fans, but having celebrities people have heard of might be a pretty decent play on their part as investors who are like repping for the team or showing up at events or, doing whatever it is they're going to do to get people out and get fans behind that team. So that's an interesting play by them that I haven't really seen a whole lot of from anybody else.
No, I mean, we really haven't seen it anywhere else, right? Like, I mean, we haven't seen, I mean, it's entirely possible that the Boston team will just have like Tom Brady at the helm, like actually playing, flex DPS.
That would be the greatest. I would just love to watch him just be terrible at something.
But you know that he's going to be naturally good at it, though. So, like,
No,
why are
won't.
you even wishing that? You know he's good at it.
No,
Like,
there's no.
I
He can't. He's the man. Not the man. I won't say anything positive about him, but what I will say about him is that he just eats. He cares about nothing other than football. Like, the man's never eaten a strawberry because it's not healthy enough for him to put in his body so that he can be in the best shape possible to play football. Like, that's not a joke. It's like he's the weirdest guy on the planet.
Besides Bill Belichick, who ironically is his coach.
How would he find a way to cheat at Overwatch, like inflate his mouse pad?
I can. Yeah, you could just you run software that would increase input lag. Like, I've already thought about how they're going to do this. It's definitely possible to cheat in this environment, but it's going to be interesting. I think it's like that's part of the reason why as soon as they signed, I'm like, okay, well, I want to know what kind of like regulations they're going to be on the equipment that they provide for the other. Like, literally, it was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, because I don't in a million years trust them to like provide an even playing field. I mean, they don't do it in football. Like, the other teams' headsets and their communications go out, and they've literally put the Patriots radio broadcast through the headset of the Pittsburgh Steelers when they played in Foxborough. Like, it would not even, I wouldn't even blink an eye if they were bringing like scummy stuff like that into Overwatch League. And that was honestly like my biggest fear when they got announced. Is like, are they going to ruin it by cheating? Like, no joke. It crosses my mind and I worry about it.
It could happen. I mean, and a lot of times, I mean, cheating's not the type of controversy or hype you want for a league. But I will tell you this, you brought up a great point. Don't think for 1 second that you will not see J-Lo at the arena and open, maybe not season 1 because season 1's all in LA, but season 2 when Shock plays at their home arena and and she's an investor and A-Rod is an investor. Don't think they're not going to show up together. They will. They've done it at Dolphins. She was a big investor in the Dolphins when she was with Mark Anthony. She showed up at Dolphins games all the times in Miami, right? So you definitely, and again, Tom Brady, you will absolutely see him at a Boston game. I guarantee it. It's part of their contracts. It's part of working for the company like Kraft. They want their celebrities to promote their new products, and that's exactly what they're going to do. It's going to continue, and you're going to see more and more and more and more as soon as the thing gets bigger.
If you're watching a Boston broadcast and Tom Brady walks on stage and gets hit by a shoe, it was probably me. It was probably me.
And now that's on tape.
Yeah, I don't even care. I'll raise I want everybody to know that I just hit Tom Brady in the head with my shoe. I think that would be the best.
You'd have a million fans. You already have a million fans, Death, but you'd have a million fans. But here's my, then the question becomes like, what if they bring Gronk out? Like, because everybody likes Gronk. You can't not.
It's
like
true. I
the guy.
don't actually like. He's the one guy where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not even gonna. I'm just. You do you, Gronk. Like you're so fun to watch. I don't like. I
And he's
literally
from
from Buffalo, right? Like that's probably a saving grace. I'd probably be able to hate him anyways if he's like wasn't from
literally
like our backyard.
10 miles away from us.
Yeah.
Just makes the betrayal that much worse, though.
Yeah,
I'm getting there. I'll hate him by the time he's done.
Can we do a quick aside on the team names and get back to Excelsior and ask ourselves like,
Oh, we
Did
don't
they
actually
watch
do
that
tangents
South-
here.
did they watch that episode of South Park before they chose that name?
Oh, I don't even know what one you're talking about.
Oh my god, yeah, look up like Al Gore, South Park, Excelsior,
Oh boy.
and you will never be able to take that team seriously.
I mean, the real question is, did anyone ever take that team name seriously? Like, it's just such a weird name. Like,
Doesn't even whose tongue did that roll off of that they're like, hey, we should
literally
totally go
only
with
Stan
it.
Lee. Like, I'm pretty sure that's something Stan Lee says.
Yeah, but when Stan Lee says it, it's cool. Like, you know, like
yeah.
Excelsior. Like
He's also a
it sounds like
90-year-old man. So,
Yeah.
like,
He can do no, dude. He created Spider. Right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
still,
right.
I totally agree. Like, who's getting behind that team? I hate to say, and I'm excited. I want a New York team, right? I'm here. I'll go.
yeah.
And I'm sorry, Bare Hands. I know you listen on occasion. I'm really sorry to say it. But yeah, it's just a weird
And
one.
it's not confirmed yet.
It's not. It's not
And
been announced.
I did ask him for comment, and he did not reply. So who knows? It could be something different. You
He
never
probably
know.
doesn't listen anymore after we tweeted it.
Yeah.
Although we didn't find that one. I missed that one.
I thought we did find that.
No, that one came from like Captain Planet. It was the day that
Oh,
I
yeah.
announced the what was the one I got? I'm blanking. Been one Thorn did, one I found. Anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, the Gladiators, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like the day I found that one, it kind of
everyone
like
figured
got
out
more
the pattern.
popularity and like people saw where I was getting it from, and then they did some more independent research and but it's literally like the name's so bad that when I saw New York Excelsior on it, I'm like, I don't care about businesses. Like I want sports teams. That's not a sports team. And that's why I missed it. So I don't know. That kind of just lends credence to the weak name argument.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It sounds like a WNBA team, and that's not, I don't know. But, yeah, so the last thing about the San Francisco Shock is that there's an interview with the one of the owners, Andy Miller. I've got the link to that in the show notes. A really nice insight from Andy. He talks a lot about, like, he's also the co-owner of the I'm blanking. I've got it
The
here.
Kings.
The Kings,
Sacramento.
that's right. He's co-owner of the Kings, and then I think they have another team in some other sport too. Oh no, it's just NRG, the Kings, and then the Shock. They're technically a different organization. So he said, like, the Kings, like, they're an established organization. Like, he as like the CEO / owner, like, doesn't have a hands-on approach to it. Obviously, like, they have a huge infrastructure. So he spends a lot of most of, if not all of his time on NRG, and then obviously now Shock. So it's interesting. Like, a lot of these like owners and like big level executives have a hand, like a strong, or at least can have a big hand in the formation and beginnings of these teams. So that'll be interesting.
Those are the teams I like. Like, who's going to be the Jerry Jones of Overwatch League? Like, who's going to be the owner that's bigger than the players and is bigger than, you know what I mean? Like, is active in the community, is his own name, his own brand. I really easily could be. He's got all those memes, like the wiggle gif. Like, he's what better face? To put
Steve
on it?
Aoki could too. If Rogue ever gets that's actually interesting. I didn't put this in the notes because I completely forgot about it until literally right now. Steve Aoki did tweet about how they are going to try to get into season 2.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, that's pretty big.
Which is sweet. I did actually reach out to Frank, the CEO of Rogue, and he basically said, like, they did all they could, and like, there's still stuff that's not known, but he can't talk about because of NDAs. Right. But basically they did all they could, and they're going to be trying. So I obviously want to see Rogue back in it. I don't know. We won't go too deep into that side of it until there's more revealed. But I don't know. I'm just kind of sad to see that because they were such a huge part of like the formation of Overwatch, like as an esport, and like they've been around forever. So
Yeah, definitely sad to see him go.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are sad, okay, no, this is actually sad. That's a terrible segue. I'll just put it out there. D3ath is back. He's either not banned on all of his accounts or he's back in some capacity. But so for those of you who are unfamiliar with the whole D3ath story, D3ath was notoriously #1 ranked player in the world, streamer, played for Selfless. Basically did a bunch of stupid stuff on stream. Nothing like illegal or like blatantly like horrific, like nothing like racist or harassing someone, but basically showed how some of the systems that Blizzard had in place were stupid and did it on stream, got banned, and instead of doing like a formal apology was just like, yeah, ban me, you guys are dumb. And banned they did. But now he's back. And I don't know, Death, do you have any thoughts on D3ath being back?
No, not really. I mean, like, you want to get into the professional Overwatch league, act like a professional. Don't do everything in the most toxic way humanly possible.
Yeah,
you could be signed to a team right now, like, and no doubt would be. So your own fault. So I don't know. If he signs with a roster, I'll pay attention to him again. Or even if he's in tier 2, I'll pay attention again. But in the meantime, he's got to prove it's worth the time to pay attention to him, because it would be hard for a team if his attitude's no different than it was before, and his maturity is the same. Any team would almost be foolish to bring him on and shoulder that risk that he provides by carrying your brand. And there being D3ath jerseys out there with your team name on them. I don't know. That's a scary concept considering what just happened with him.
Yeah, I think there's another way to look at it too. I do agree.
Cutting out.
Sorry. Is that better?
Yep.
If you're going to be in a professional league, and Blizzard is like top tier professional, right? Everything they do is very structured, very organized. But D3ath, he could be playing the bad boy role, and it could actually pay off for him in season 2, season 3, where he plays the troll right now, causes trouble, is toxic. People get behind that kind of rebel attitude, and then he comes in, he cleans up his act, he aces it, and now he's got a legion of fans who want to see the controversy because that's sports, right? And he plays it up, and he's suddenly season 2, season 3, he's got a huge fan base because he was this bad boy kind of image. I'm not saying that's going to work for him.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, just if he's going to be like that, get rid of him. But at the same time, who knows? It could pay off in a weird way down the line.
It could. He's got to change it though, right? Because I think the way to pull that off is like crouch spam in a game, like on camera. You know what I mean? Like you got like spray, go a little BM in game, but like don't go full toxic on a Twitch stream.
Right.
Like he went about it the wrong way. It still can work for him. But at the end of the day, the way I see it with all these players, like everybody that doesn't get into season 1, there's going to be some percentage of them that have to quit playing.
Yeah.
Right. Like they've stopped working. They've stopped going to school. They've justified it to their parents. I can't even imagine that conversation. God bless you guys. They've justified it to their parents. They've set aside their personal lives, their outside career advancement to take this chance and take this leap. And it's super respectable. It's super admirable. I mean, you don't got to convince me that it's a good idea or that, I'm obviously all in on it and love to see them do it. But with that risk comes failure. And there's some of them that are, maybe already graduated from college. And like when I was trying to start my business after college, it became like, it's not that my business failed. It's that like I personally couldn't pay my student loans back consistently. And like, they're pretty picky about that. Right. So like all these things kind of come to a head at some point. And at some point you can't financially justify it anymore, or you can't justify it to your family who, you know what I mean? And it's really hard to do something like that and take a risk like that when you lose the backing of your support system and your family. And it's not that families aren't going to like believe in the kids anymore or anything like that, but like if you don't make it season 1 and you've been trying for 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, however long since the game came out to get there, and you fail, like that's going to be a blow, and that's going to cause some amount of them to either have to or want to give up on the dream and go back. So it's definitely unfortunate to see that happen, but
right. And at the same time, we've got a whole crop of 17-year-olds that are going to be eligible for season 2 that aren't right now. So.
Right. And I don't know that affects DeFran. Like he might, I mean, he's got the stream and there's income from that, but even that's as we've seen with Siegel so far, that's a tough rope to walk on. You know, it's not an easy thing to balance because you're not like just playing Overwatch makes you good at aiming, right? But aiming is such a small fraction of what these guys can do, and the time and the preparation they put in. It's probably at this point in their careers, like the thing they spend the least time on is the stuff that you can get just by, and I don't care what level you're at, like literally top 500, play has nothing on what the pros are doing at the top level. Once it's 6-on-6 and everybody's queued up, it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see DeFran. I think I agree with you, Mash, that like we could I would like to see it doesn't necessarily have to be DeFran, but I would definitely like to see like the heel of Overwatch League. Like I don't want everyone to be like the good guy. Yeah, that's true. I don't want everyone to be the good guy. Like I want there to be. I mean, obviously, listeners to the show know that Death and I are all in on booing. Like we want to see like the one that people are gonna hate, like not like like I don't know, like I want to see the Terrell Owens and the I don't want to see the Michael Vicks because I don't want people to actually dogs, but you know what I mean though, right? Like the controversy player, like I want to see that in Overwatch.
It's really fun to hate people in the right context. As terrible as it is to say, it's a lot of fun to hate people.
Yeah, it certainly is. But moving on, so we saw KSV, the owners, who are the owners of the Seoul Overwatch spot, have filed for a Korean patent for the name Seoul Dynasty. Not as concrete confirmed as some of the other patent ones that we found before, and for what it's worth, we aren't the ones that found this one. This was someone on Reddit, so not trying to take credit for that, but I mean, I don't know if the shoe fits, right? Like this is like fits the same type of naming schema for the other teams and is a pretty decent name. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that's the name. I don't think there's a question. If you look at all the
cutting out again, but
sorry, hold on. Oh, there we go. Sorry. If you look at all the names, they're extremely safe, right? I mean, and this is typical. They want. I'm going to get in trouble saying this, but I always make the joke about Blizzny, right? and I, these names are safe because and a lot of these, guys talk about. It's not just getting the 4 of us into an arena, right? You've got to convince a parent to bring their kid. You got it, which technically would be me, right? So like. I need a reason to drive down to Philly or drive to New York and bring my son to see a game, and they're going to want to buy a sweatshirt or a hat, and if you really look at it in that capacity, Dynasty works. It works globally. It makes sense in a lot of ways. It heralds to Seoul and the birth of esports, and it is a dynasty that's coming out to play. It's definitely the name. Like it or not, this is going to be it. And again, it's every name is a safe bet, right? That's the key. They're all going to be a safe bet.
What's this?
Well, we could still see the Philly corn dogs. You never know.
Oh, that would be the greatest.
Or the Houston corn dogs.
I'm almost upset that it's safe, right? Like we're in a game where half the characters are evil. Right? Like people love Reaper and he's death. He's the face of death. Like Widowmaker, like she's an assassin. Like Rogue has been so big, and that's not a word that has a positive connotation to it. Like I don't know. I almost think it's a shame, right? Like I would be, if I was naming a team and seeing these names come out, I would just audible to like the Devils. And I would just, because like if one team does it, you get the entire market of people. And for me in video games, I'm not this way with movies or anything like that, but in video games, I love the bad guys.
Yeah.
I want to play as the bad guys. I love that goofy mode that lets you, like that's who for whatever reason, it doesn't even make sense to me. That's who I identify with. The villains, they're my favorite. Like in World of Warcraft, I always wanted to play Warlock the most because they were evil. Like it's just, I don't know what it is about video games. Like Necromancer, sign me up. I don't care. I'll play it. So I don't know. I would love to see a team go the opposite direction, and I don't even know that I realized so far that they were all going.
Yeah, I mean, when you say like the Devils, I guess that kind of makes sense because there's really not a positive way to spin that for traditional sports teams. But like, I mean, I guess like if you look at just how they like even in talking to Kai and listening to the videos that like Dallas Fuels put out, it's like they really want to represent like the city. And San Francisco wants to really represent the city. So like, I don't know. I guess if they're really like buying into like, being there for the city, like they want to have a positive thing. But like, I mean, I guess I don't know. We still have some teams that are out there that we could see. We don't really have anything that's known or even I think speculated for the Philly team yet. Did we get Houston? Did we get like a soft confirm on Houston? No, I don't think we have on Houston either.
No.
So
he says he saw the logo, right? The optic guy came out and said, "Yeah, I saw our logo and it's awesome." But
I mean, I could see them doing something.
Kai said yesterday he's got like, he had like 3 weeks ago he saw and they like asked him to weigh in on it and things like that. So it's definitely, I mean, there's people out there that know it for sure.
Yeah, I'll go back to like I know we only know based on trademark, but the Miami Mayhem is an awesome name.
Yeah,
I love that name, and I was like, "That's great. I'll buy that hat in a heartbeat." I hope their logo is as cool as the Misfits logo was, but yeah, I mean, these things are super safe bets, which I agree with you, Death. I think it speaks. You're actually probably a good person in real life if you play bad guys in video games. That's a theory. That's a theory that Taco and I will confirm off the air. But because in my experience, like really, really good characters and paladins and stuff are always played by people who have difficulties. No offense, Taco.
Hey, now.
But honestly, like I think I agree with you. I want you want the Oakland Raiders. Let's use that as an example.
They're awesome. They're great. Yeah. Like they make the NFL better just by existing and their fans being lunatics. Like the Philly team, like if there's ever a team that should do it, like it should probably be Philly, whose fans are going to boo everybody no matter what. Yeah. Like part of me wants the roster and the logo and everything. I hope Philly is just the best because
the bad news bears.
Right. Like they have a chance to like their fan base has a chance to be exactly what I want from a fan base. Like as much as I hear about Team Optic and how, maybe toxic's the wrong word, but how like confrontational they can be, things like that. I don't know. It's just that's what I want. I don't know, and I think Philly's the right spot for it. And I just hope one of them bite the bullet and kind of take and the Miami Mayhem. That's I don't know. Is that bad enough? Because Mayhem's kind of like neutral in a way, right? It's not like evil. It's not good. It's just hectic and crazy.
It just reminds me of those insurance commercials. Who's like, I'm Mayhem. I jumped down through your window. Like that's all. When I saw that, I'm like, is that guy going to be like the spokesperson for the Miami?
They'd have to get him.
That's true. That's horrible to think it that way. But I'll make the argument that Mayhem is best of the bunch right now. I agree. Philly needs to jump on this and seize the opportunity to be, the Philly Brawlers, right? Take the Flyers, clear, their iconic sports kind of history and be like, we're the Philly Brawlers. And if a fist fight breaks out on stage in an Overwatch match, I'll tune in for the rest of my life at that point. I'm like, I'm sold.
I am putting a lot of stock in the Philly team as well as I personally am putting stock in the Boston team because I know Death can't, but the Philly team is important because Philly, New York, and Boston are the teams that are closest to us. That's the same for you guys too. I guess obviously you're closer to New York than.
Go ahead, Blevins. Pick Boston. See how long this podcast lasts.
I think the podcast just gets better if we could just argue the whole time.
We will. I mean, we won't talk about anything anymore. Like it would literally, and maybe that would be better for it, but I would probably just be yelling the whole time while you trolled me.
Yeah, it'd be great. But yeah, I mean, we could have we can definitely have a whole episode when all the teams get released. And oh man, we're gonna be able to do this again for season 2. Oh man, whew. I'm excited about this.
Yeah,
But
it's gonna be a good year.
yeah, it like I don't even know. Like, I mean, we could have new teams in season 3, season 4. Like, we're gonna have this. We're gonna have this for us going forward. Like, regardless of anything else, we're gonna at least be able to speculate about this. But let's move on a little bit. We had so keeping in line with Team Soul, they signed Fleta, Munchkin, and Zephyr, which brings their roster count to 9. We talked about this a little bit before with their match against Miraculous Youngsters. They seemed a little bit off, just with the new roster and whatnot. So that's definitely interesting. Not anyone that we are too super that we know the super amount about. Is that right? Like I wasn't like, they weren't like it's not like they signed another Seagull or anything, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm pretty psyched on Fleta. I think Fleta's awesome.
Yeah, I think Fleta's decently well known. The one that I knew of a little bit was Zephyr.
Yeah, Zephyr sounded familiar.
Yeah, he's the one that stood out to me as somebody I've probably seen a lot, but this is a little bit our neglecting of the Korean scene, kind of coming back to bite us a little bit. I don't have a ton to say on these guys. Other than,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, other than like, I mean, we did see Fleta and Zephyr in a match, and there were times when I thought Fleta could have been a little more stand up, but they're getting used to these guys. This pre-existing team, 2 of these guys like invaded it and came in, and that's a little bit what it'll feel like. And it helps that they like reverse swept, right? I mean, you could see that they got better in time in that brief, that brief 2 maps they got to play, and lost at the start of that, and then they reverse swept, and then they went on to beat C9 Kongdu in the finals. So I think it's going to take them time, but I mean, definitely trust the organization of what Lunatic High has there as far as resources to go out and get the right 3 guys. And I'm guessing this will basically be the end of it. I think 9's going to be about that magic number we see for most of these teams.
Yeah, I certainly don't see them signing a whole lot more players. Probably nobody. But Fleta is he's quite good. Fleta is quite good. I feel like he's been the best player on his team for a long time now, and it's not like by quite a considerable margin. So I'm kind of waiting to see him get to play with really, really top folks, and I think he's going to shine pretty quick.
Yeah, that'll definitely be one. I mean, obviously, all eyes are going to be on Lunatic High for the foreseeable future, but definitely keep an eye on that. Just a couple more stories before we get going. I know this one's been a little bit of a longer episode for you guys listening at home, but it's been a fun one for me at least. So we saw Immortals. They did announce the classic esports announcement of an announcement. They're going to be announcing their full roster, I believe this week. I believe last week they said it's going to be next week, so that's this week. But they did announce officially that they released Hyped, who I'm pretty sure was the Hearthstone player from Tempo Storm back in the day. I'm like 99% sure that it's the same guy.
They look really similar if it's not.
Yeah, it would be really weird if it wasn't. But yeah, so not much to talk about that until it actually gets released. And the last thing we had on here in terms of esports was the Mosaic Esports was one of the organizations looking into the Phoenix Overwatch League spot. But obviously they didn't get in there for season 1. But in the meantime, they have collected a roster for contenders. So, we talked to Kai, which you guys will hear on Friday. And we've talked to some other teams that I know NRG or Andy Miller mentioned it in that interview with NRG that they are planning on having a contenders roster. So it looks like contenders season 2 is going to be alive and well. We're still not 100% sure how the exact workings of like, is it going to be like a farm team, like a traditional, baseball minor league system, or is it going to be something a little bit different? We're not 100% sure on that, but it is nice to see that we are going to have, some life in contender season 2.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more stuff like that with them. Like they have every intention of getting into Overwatch for season 2. They picked their place out. They are very, very organized. And I think while they jumped on the ball early, that we're going to see more and more of that. I think Rogue obviously is going to put a new roster together and compete, and I'm interested to see who else steps up to the plate and says, you know what, there's a lot of talent still out there, and we're going to grab it now and be ready for season 2.
Yeah, that was something that Brandon at
Good enough.
here switching back in. That was something that Brandon said when we talked to him about Mosaic. Was he's like, everybody's, these teams are disbanding because their players are not making it into Overwatch League, but there's tons of talent out there that's not being picked up. And to if you are smart and you have a city like Phoenix who's fully supporting this, with 2 massive universities and 2 major sports franchises like the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks, these guys all want to get involved, right? And so if the right person comes in and takes Mosaic and says, we're going to have a contenders team, oh yeah, we're going to get a season 2 spot for Phoenix, you've already got a great structure there for the city for season 2. And they are very serious about that. I was shocked when he said that in the interview. I think Taco threw the question out there as if it was like, yeah, we'll see if he says anything, and then boom, he's right away, he's like, that's absolutely the goal, and we've got all this great ideas and backers and investors, and we're ready. We were like, whoa, you are for real. And it's great to see, because I hope other teams do it. Like you said, Rogue, I want to see Rogue absolutely 100% in there for season 2. I don't know what city they'll represent. I don't know where they'll end up being. Possibly somewhere between Buffalo and New Jersey, so we can all go to those games.
Well, I know that they're based in Las Vegas, so I know that they'd have a pretty big claim if Las Vegas ever opened up a spot. I know they'd have a pretty solid claim on that spot.
Also, pretty sure they'd jump on Paris if they had the opportunity as well.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see more. Like you got to see some more European teams this season.
We really do,
right? We have to.
Yeah,
they really need to focus on the European market and get. I would say 2 to 3 more teams in Europe, and then by season 3 they'll need to add another Asian team or 2. They've got to expand more outside the U.S. as well as inside the U.S. Like that's obviously not going to hurt them any, but for every 1 U.S. team, at least for the next season, like I want to see 1 U.S. team and 2 European teams get added, and then team. And then we can do a Toronto. Yeah, but. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. I just hope these teams like all go into contenders, right? Like I think it would be weird if they didn't. I'm just so pumped to see the developmental leagues and all those things get the hype they're getting right now, because we've talked about it in the past, and they're almost more important than the main league itself to the success of the league in a lot of ways. So it's great to see there's still a lot of hype and excitement for that, and the fact that the league is actually going to fire and like came to fruition and got completed, I think erased a lot of doubts, right? Like there's a lot of people like, is it worth that money? And then, well, too late. It doesn't matter. 12 people paid it. So it doesn't matter if you think it's worth it in your article. We found enough people to do it and we're going, and that kind of answers all the questions I think most of the people needed to hear.
Yeah, for sure. So it'll definitely be, obviously that's like the biggest thing on our mind. Like, what is season 2 going to look? What is season 1 going to look like? And then what is season 2 going to look like in comparison for that? The last thing I'll mention, we're not going to go into it really now, is that obviously we had the Halloween patch for Overwatch. We talked a little bit about some of the skins. Then we actually had a balance update too, but we will talk about that on a later episode as we're running.
Spoiler alert: Mercy's still really good, but maybe not a must pick. That's the goal, I think.
Yeah. And then the absolute last thing that I wanted to talk about specifically was Thorn Rain actually mentioned to us. Thorn Rain obviously covers the Open Division, the Overwatch Open Division. Wanted to mention that the Season 3 signups are live until October 23rd.
Also, the requirement of having an SR in Masters has been lifted. So if you want to enter the Open Division, does not matter where your team is. It would be a phenomenal learning experience for your 6-stack. So go out there, sign up. It can only help the overall scene, I think, to have more teams enter. So if you play as a group of 6, almost no matter how serious you are, I just sign up.
Yeah, get that funnel started for Overwatch League and get started for yourself as well. But that's gonna be it, guys. This was a nice long tangenty episode. Our favorite types. huge thanks to Taco and Mash, you guys from OverwatchScore.com. The floor is yours. Do you have any shout outs or any plugs that you want to throw out there?
No, just thanks so much for having us. We like the podcast a lot. If folks have any feedback on our site, shoot us a DM on Twitter and let us know. We're definitely trying to put something together for the fans that are here now, that have been here, and for the fans that have yet to come. So we definitely want your feedback if you've got it.
Yeah, my only shout out is that we do right before.
Oh, you're cut out for the shout out.
He just leaked every team name and half the rosters.
I just said I would love to get together again for the preseason. I think it'd be awesome fun.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I mean, you guys are welcome back on the show anytime. I mean, I just love the discussion we had. I didn't, I was a little bit wary of how the 4-person dynamic was going to be, and I thought it turned out great.
Yeah, it was fun.
And it looks like we have lost Deathblow, so I'm not going to give him any last second things here. We're just gonna end it like normal. So guys, again, huge shout outs to overwatchscore.com. You can check them out over at overwatchscore.com. And you guys are just at OverwatchScore on Twitter, right?
That's correct.
All right, awesome. You can check them out there. You can always check us out at highnoonpodcast.com. All the links everywhere for everything are on that. And all that good stuff. And poor Death. He's dead right now. He's like messaging me in the chat. Death, if you have about 2 seconds. Okay, he's gone. Okay, that's gonna be it, guys. Check out highnoonpodcast.com. Check out overwatchscore.com for all that good stuff. This was already long enough. Again, huge thanks to Taco and Mash for coming on the show. Huge thanks to Matcherino for sponsoring our SoundCloud. Huge thanks to all the patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/highnoonpodcast. And join the Discord. The link to the Discord is on highnoonpodcast.com. It's honestly, it's just the best Discord now. Like at first it was like, okay, it was a cool Discord. It was chill. Now it's like all the top news and stuff, and everyone is always talking in there. And now I've got emojis. We've got emojis in the Discord. Finally, after months of me talking about it, we finally got it. So that's going to be it, guys. Again, huge thanks to everyone. I'm not going to do the fake outro anymore. For Deathblow, for OverwatchScore.com, I'm the Blevins. And remember, it's high noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. Threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
F's in the chat for Deathblow.